Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome back to another Hookster Talks with me and Mr. TB the Bear. TB the Bear. Say hello, TB. Yes, fantastic. Yes, it's time again. It's Thursday once again. They come round bloody quick, these Thursdays, don't they? Bloody quick indeed. Hello, Mr. Will F1 Gaming. He says Alonso and Aston Martin just had an off weekend in Spain. Yes, I quite agree with you. Just an off weekend. Spain's a very funny circuit because, of course, it was the testing track, or I think it still is a testing track, but it is a testing track anyway for a lot of Formula One, and of course the teams know it very, very well. So over the years, it's sort of shown up itself to be sort of boring to race on. A lot of the times I think the drivers are a little bit like, oh, I can't involve with this because I spend so many hours going around and testing. So they do tend to give up, unfortunately. But there you go. So yes, what has... Will says, Dave trying to make something small a huge talking point. Well, that's the story of my life. I've often tried to make something small a huge talking point. No, actually, it was a little bit clickbaity, the title, but what I was actually saying was what has happened to Fernando Alonso in regards to his personality and his demeanour and the way he conducts himself. That's basically what I was going on about, because to me, this is not even Fernando Alonso. I don't know whether he's been taking some estrogen pills or whatever, the stuff that they give to women when they're getting hormonal, that age when they get to 50 odd and they have to take extra estrogen. I don't know whether Fernando Alonso has been taking extra estrogen pills. I don't know, but he just seems very, very passive. Very, very passive indeed. Now, don't forget, of course, this was the man who did this in 2007.
McLaren had asked Hamilton to let Alonso through in the final part of qualifying. However, he failed to let Fernando pass, despite requests from the team and the obvious anger of his teammate.
We saw this with Ayrton, the important thing was to be faster than your teammate. There's a psychological factor as well as the tactics can also mean the psychological tactics. And I think Hamilton just wants to put down the marker. He wants to be in front of his teammate. Pole position here is putting you in a dominant position, very difficult circuit to overtake. And I don't know what the rules are about their tactics and fuel loads and stuff, whether or not he gets an advantage by being ahead of his teammate, I don't know.
Well, at the moment, Alonso having to wait again for the optimum moment to go out onto the racetrack. But he's definitely putting the harder tyres on. There's Lewis Hamilton queuing up behind him. And have they raised the lollipop to let Alonso out? Yep, they want him out of there. Now Alonso's not getting on with it. Only a minute and 40 to go. Is he blocking Hamilton here? Is that a bit of a tactic within the team there to give Hamilton a bit of a headache? I think it might well be. That's really up to you now, chum.
Yeah, James, that was a little bit naughty, I think. But we'll see.
I always loved that bit. Of course, back in 2007, a lot of people won't know this, but I was a Lewis Hamilton fan. In fact, I was a die-hard Lewis Hamilton fan. Really was, absolutely. And at the time that this was going on, back in 2007, that would have been me shouting at the screen, going, Fernando, fuck's sake, get moving, you. Anyway, I can't do too much language, but you know what I'm saying. I was absolutely, as Murray would say, I was incandescent with rage. I really was, because as I say, in 2007, I was a die-hard Lewis Hamilton fan. Really, really was. In fact, it was really quite sort of stalkery how much of... Yeah, I've changed over the years, obviously. As Lewis Hamilton has changed himself, then I've changed my opinions of him. I still don't... I haven't gone into hate mode. I don't do that with any of the drivers, but my opinion of Lewis Hamilton these days is completely different from how it was in 2007. Of course, don't forget, first year in Formula One at the McLaren, and McLaren was always a team that I loved anyway. Even back there, it was possibly my second favourite team next to Williams, of course. So yeah, it was a very frustrating time for me to see that kind of thing going on. But yeah, that was Fernando Alonso. Of course, that was the most famous incident. But there was loads of other incidents. There was allegations when he was at Renault, when he used to pass these little envelopes full of cash into his mechanics, these little white envelopes. I mean, it just sounds like something out of the mafia, doesn't it? It really does. But yeah, allegedly that's what he used to do. And that was to keep his mechanics sweet, keep them, on side and on message, as they like to say these days. So that's why that was done. But yeah, it's just amazing. And if you go back through the history of Fernando Alonso, you will see very, very numerous incidents. A lot of these incidents as well, Fernando Alonso seemed to get away with. Yes, that's why they coined the nickname Teflonzo at one point, because he did seem to get away with quite a lot of things. Yes, quite a lot of things. But yes, I've just seen this change since he's been, and not just at Aston Martin, but this year I've seen a definite change in Fernando Alonso, and it's very, very weird. Very, very weird indeed, because as I say, he's had all these incidents. Anybody who's worked for him, and this is well documented, but anyone who's worked for him says that basically he's I mean, I'm not saying about Fernando in real life, I'm not saying about his personality. He's probably a completely different person in real life, but in his work environment, a lot of people who've worked with him said he's a complete arsehat. He really is terrible to work for, because it's Fernando Alonso or it's nothing. It's all about him, which made me think on Sunday how it was very, very strange that he said, "Oh no, that's all right, I'll just sit behind Lance." In fact, I was like, is this actually happening? I mean, I know we've been going through the Matrix these last few years anyway, everything that's been going on, but this just seemed bizarre to me, that he would come around and say, "No, it's all right, I'll just sit behind Lance. I'm not going to try and get past him. No, it's fine. No, let Lance go." And very strange indeed. And of course, anyone who's probably seen the video now of the Spanish commentator trying to rile up some controversy and trying to get Lance Stroll to, bite as well, which I must say he didn't do. He didn't bite at all when asked, why he didn't. And he said, well, he said, he's standing over there, why don't you go and ask him? Which was a great thing for Lance to say. I have to say, a lot of people give Lance Stroll a lot of stick. A lot of it is sort of unwarranted as well, I would say. I mean, Lance, he has gone through the programme of Formula One. He really has. He's gone through the ringer as well, I have to say. Don't forget, he used to drive for Williams. Now, he would have got a lot of experience at Williams. I do believe when he was there, I think Frank Williams was still there at the time. I know Claire would have been in overall charge, but I think Frank was still there, and that would have been great for someone to be in Formula One, to have Frank there. Because I mean, if that was me, I'd go to every drivers meeting and just listen to Frank talk, because what he didn't know about motor racing wasn't worth knowing about. It really wasn't. So yeah, so he would have got a lot of experience from that with Lance, so that would have put him in good stead. And don't forget, of course, he was part of the Ferrari Academy as well, which is one of the most toxic environments any driver can be in. So I've heard anyway. It's not a nice place to be in, the Ferrari Academy. It really isn't. And he was in that as well, but he got through it as well. And so as I say, a lot of people take the mickey out of Lance because of his dad, which is understandable. Dad's got lots of money, so obviously he'd have his son in the team. But the thing is, if he didn't have a lot of money and it wasn't his dad, would Lance Stroll still be at Aston Martin? That's the question. I couldn't comment on that. I mean, probably not, but he could still be there on merit. I don't know. But anyway, Lance, he gets a lot of stick. He's not brilliant. I would put him in the sort of the Pastor Maldonado class, and I'm talking about when Pastor was having I think it was his 2 seasons of good stuff. Yeah, the good stuff, not what happened before and afterwards, where he became known as Crash Naldo because he just crashed all the time. But during those 2 good seasons, I would put sort of Lance Stroll in that sort of category. He's never going to be a world champion material. That's a pretty much given. He's never going to be a world champion. But I think as a midfielder and as a support act, really, for Fernando Alonso, because that's what Lance is. He's the Fernando Alonso support act. He's the one that when you go to a concert, the one that comes on before everyone else and, you know, tells a few jokes or, you know, does a bit of dancing and singing and whatever. That is Lance Stroll in a nutshell. He is the support act for Fernando Alonso, and then Fernando Alonso comes on. But Fernando, he's just very giving lately. He's just very, very giving. Who knows? Who knows? Perhaps his own sort of personal situation in his life hasn't been that good, and now he has found a very good personal situation. It changes a man. I know it changes. It does change a person. So perhaps he's in a very good place right now, and he's decided that, you know, everything that happened in the past, well, that's the past, and I do believe, you know, that's how it should be. It should be left in the past. You can't keep, you know, going over stuff that's happened in the past, which a lot of people do, and that's where, you know, you get the problems, and how all these controversial stories keep getting dug up and brought to the surface, even though they were like 2 years ago. Philip Schofield, you know what I'm saying, and it's just, you know, just ridiculous. So perhaps he's in the Zen mode. Perhaps he is in a very good place, and this is the new Fernando Alonso now. This is the 2.0 Fernando. I'd like to see that, and I thought it was very gracious of him to sit behind Lance Stroll for the end of that Spanish Grand Prix. I also thought it was very gracious of him to share his settings with his like team, whatever it is, the bloke that talks to him over the radio. I thought it was very gracious to say, well, I'm using these settings. I think it was it suspension or something like that. I'm using these settings. Tell Lance that, you know, these settings are pretty good. Or brake balance. I think it was brake balance. That's right. Tell Lance he's pretty good. I thought that's very gracious of him to do that, because, as you know, in Formula One, you're always against your teammate. That's just it. You know, that is it. You are against your teammate, and so sharing settings is a no-no. You just don't. You've got one side of the garage, you've got your side of the garage, and you are very singular in that position. You do not share what you're doing with your other driver. It doesn't matter if you're, you know, best mates or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. You don't share info like that. So to publicly share information over the radio, I mean, a lot of people would say that was quite cynical of Fernando. You know, he was just showboating. But I don't think he was. I think he was genuinely trying to, you know, push this team further to the front. And of course, with that, he needs Lance Stroll. He needs Lance Stroll to be up there, because if Fernando's the only one that's doing well in the races, it's not going to, you know, look as good for Aston Martin. You need a good teammate up there as well. Now, Lance Stroll hasn't got the legs of Fernando Alonso, but he can be up there at least 1 or 2 positions behind him, and that's what you need. That's what you need to make progress for your own team, you know, Aston Martin. So it's just great to see. I have to say, I'm very cool with it, and I hope it doesn't all go sour. And something happens. There's an incident, because don't forget, of course, everyone's behind Lance Stroll at the moment, because he is being gracious as well, and more importantly than that, he's being respectful of Fernando Alonso, and of course Fernando loves that. He really loves it, and so does the Spanish fans. They love the respect. Okay, so at the moment Lance is in a good place, but I mean, obviously there was that incident earlier in the year when Lance almost went into the back of Fernando, but you can't really blame Lance for that, because that was just a racing incident. You know, start of the race, you're all trying to squabble for positions. That's going to happen in any situation. The fact that it was Lance about to hit Fernando, it's just one of those things. There's nothing you can do about that. But apart from that, they haven't really sort of clashed together in any of the races. And I just hope that continues and we don't end up with a really bad entanglement, and then of course, you know, the Spanish press, because they're absolutely mad. They really are. Spanish press start going against Lance Stroll. That's my hope anyway, and I hope it continues, because I do like to see Aston Martin doing well and, you know, mixing it up there with the big boys. Basically, because I want to see their team principal in Formula One for the next 20 years, because every time it comes up on screen as Mike Crack, I just can't stop laughing. I'm sorry, Mike. I really am. It's nothing against you, but you just got the best name for a team principal ever. Yes, Mike Crack. See, I'm laughing now, and it's It's just funny to me. It really is. But there you go. So, yeah, I'd like to see Aston Martin and Mike Crack do very, very well indeed. And, yeah, I mean, they're mixing it with Mercedes. Who would have thought that, 2-3 years ago, before they even became Aston Martin, because, of course, they were Racing Point and then Force India, that they'd be up there in 2023 racing with Mercedes. Mercedes, yes. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? Really unbelievable. Anyway, let's go to the comments. Helium Trophy says, calm down, man. I'm calm, sir. Welcome to the stream. I am calm, honestly. Will says, I'll let you off, Dave. Thank you. Hello, Mr. Grasshopper. Welcome to the stream. He says, you are, for real, the funniest YouTuber I've ever seen. I always laugh how you call Lewis Lulu. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Lulu! I'm going to do it again just for you. Lulu! I don't feel sorry for Lulu. Feel sorry for Bono. Yes, he's... what's the name of the one you talk to? Is it your engineer? Engineer, that's it. Bloody hell. Almost went Joe Biden for a minute there. Oh my God, I've just been watching Sky News. Yeah, and Joe Biden was on there with Rishi Sunak talking about some lot of old bollocks. I really can't stand politics myself, but oh my God. America, if you're watching, I feel sorry for you right now. I really do. How on earth did you get that elected as president? I mean, if he's looking down, reading off a script, he's absolutely fine. But as soon as he has to freestyle it, which is what I'm doing all the time right now for the last 22 minutes, as soon as he has to freestyle, he's a blithering idiot. He's like, that's what he's doing. I actually had to turn the TV off because the embarrassment was too much. I said, no, my God, I can't. I just can't. No. So all the time he's reading off an auto cue or reading something in a prepared statement in front of him, absolutely fine. You would say, yeah, that's the president talking. But twice during that little interview, they had all the reporters asking questions. He had to freestyle it. And oh my God, it's just horrible. It's like a car crash in reverse. It really is. Oh. Anyway, getting off subject there. Yes, you got to feel sorry for Bono. His engineer. I got it now. Engineer. Bono. You got my pizza ready yet, Bono? You put my dry cleaning yet, Bono? Imagine if he goes back to his wife. He goes, hello, dear. And she goes, Bono. Have you cleaned out the garage yet, Bono? He's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Got it in stereo. But yeah, it's Lulu. Little Lulu with Lewisham. Oh, we love Lulu with Lewisham. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but where I live, there's very, very close to me. In fact, I could probably walk there myself in about 20 minutes. Is a place called Buckmore Park. Yes, and that is where Lulu did his go-karting back in the day. Yes, and a lot of people won't remember this, but this was always quite funny to me. He actually brought engines off of Jenson Button's dad. Yeah, John Button used to supply the engines for Lewis Hamilton's go-karts back in the day. Yes, so we've all got John Button to applaud for Lulu being in Formula One, because if all that go-karting stuff hadn't have happened, he wouldn't have got recognised by anyone. Well, he did send that letter off to Ron Dennis, didn't he, when he was about 7. I'm going to be in Formula One. And Ron Dennis was like, who is this prick? But he was right. And he was, and he still is. So well done, Lulu. Well done to Lulu for being in Formula One. Yes. So yeah, he used to buy his engines off John Button. They used to do races up at Buckmore Park, which is it's a stone throw away from me. Stone throw. I could get there in 20 minutes walking. I'm probably about 5 minutes in the car. It's really just up the road. Just up the road from me. So fantastic that he started his career in go-karting right near me. I feel like I've got this closeness now to Lulu. Not really. But there you go. Will F1 Gaming says, Alonso just wants to stay on Lawrence Stroll's good side. That could be a possibility. Yes, could be a possibility. But Does he need to, really? Does he need to? If it doesn't work out, he can just leave or go somewhere else, really, doesn't he? So I don't know. At his age, and he's 41 and or whatever, I don't think that's really an issue where he wants to need to stay on Lawrence Stroll's good side. To be honest, I mean, I'm not saying you're not wrong, but I don't know. I don't think that's possibly a reason. I think he's just mellowed. I think he's just mellowed in his old age, and I think he's in the zen. I know he's got this rather attractive girlfriend now, hasn't he? So he just could be fully loved up. Who knows? Fernando Alonso could be fully in love, and he wants to share that love now with everyone in the world. He wants to stick his little doogleberry in Lance Stroll's ear and say, "Here, Lance, have a present for you." Yes. So who knows? Who knows? That's what he wants to do. But he just seems very relaxed and very in the zen. And I like it. I like the new Fernando Alonso. Very much indeed. And let's hope it continues and it doesn't all go tits up. Helium Travis says, I was laughing my arse off at that moment. Yes. Me as well. Although I wasn't really laughing, it was, as I say, because I was a Hamilton fan, so I was like, "Aah!" But I used to do the same when I was a Damon Hill fan, and I used to do the same when I was a Nigel Mansell fan as well. Yeah. I mean, 1994, when Schumacher hit Hill and broke his suspension, I can't put into sentences the expletives that were coming out of my mouth at that point. It was horrible. It was horrific. It really was. But there you go. As I say, you support these drivers and then you move on. As I say, Lewis Hamilton moved on, and he moved on in a direction that I wasn't happy with. I don't hate the man. I don't hate anybody, despite what people say in my YouTube comments. I don't hate anybody, but he just moved on in a direction that I didn't agree with. I like Lewis Hamilton in his 2007, 2008, 2009 years. Then 2010, there's a few changes happened. Of course, he was going out with Nicole Scherzinger. Yeah, whatever her name is. Scherzinger. I don't know. Whatever it is. He was going out with her, and that seemed to me to be a very toxic relationship. It really did. Very toxic indeed. I didn't like the fact she was at nearly all the races, which Lewis Hamilton, by the way, flew her to in his private jet. Yes. The one that's always going on about the environment and how we really must save the planet. And he used to fly to all the races, and I didn't like when they used to cut the camera to it, and she was too much into him, too much, and it was a little bit cringe. So that was one thing that sort of put me off. Then of course he started going in all this climate change direction, which kind of put me off. He made it worse during COVID when he did that video about making sure you wash your hands like we're all 12-year-olds and we don't actually know how to wash our hands. That video to me was like, are you serious, Lulu? Are you serious that you'd put that video out about how to wash hands? Unbelievable. So, yeah, certain things like that. Then, of course, he fired his own father. That, to me, was very strange. I know he said he did it because he wanted to get his father back. I don't think firing him is quite the right way of going about it, to be honest, but there you go. But that's what he said. He said he fired him because he wanted to get his dad back. But, that relationship, I think, soured at that point. And I think it's taken a very long time to get back to any kind of, sort of level. And I still don't believe that father and son are really up to that level that they were back in the 2007, 2008 days. I just don't see it there, to be honest. But there you go. Priestley confirmed it, said Indian Trophy. Ron wouldn't have it. There you go. Ron wouldn't have it. Good old Ron. Where is Ron? Where is Ron these days? I suppose he's on gardening leave, isn't he, eh? Gardening leave, yes. I don't think so. Hello, Scott. Welcome to the screen. Welcome to the scream. Yeah, welcome to the scream. There's a lot of screaming goes on. Yes. Not much streaming, but lots of screaming. Got that wrong, didn't I? Grasshopper says, if Lance Stroll wasn't there, Lance would already be away and F1 never had talked about him. Sorry, I got that wrong. Never had talked ever again about him. That's true. That's true. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right there. Helium Trophy says, maybe Alonso's taken up fishing. Well, he may have done. He may have done. Well, if he's taken up fishing, then I've certainly taken the bait. I have, yes. I am a fully paid up member of the Fernando Alonso New Supporters Club. Yes, I am. Fully paid up member. And his membership seems to be getting bigger. So, well done, Fernando. Well done indeed. Helium says, maybe my tablet wouldn't keep getting rid of the messages. Helium Trophy says, maybe Mike Crack could push out a bowel movement. Bum. Hi, I'm Shrek and I'm here till Thursday. Yeah, well done. Bum, says Basil. Maybe Mike Crack can push out a bowel movement. Yes. Will says Mike Crack. Peter Bollington. That's it. That's the bloke. Bono. Scott says, while listening to this podcast stream thing, I'm playing Toka 2 touring cars. Yay! Ah, yeah, Toka 2 touring cars. Lovely. Great game. Helium Trophy says, wow, just seen his new girl. Yeah, see? Told you. Yeah, I saw her a couple of weeks ago. Several times. And 8 times on Sunday. Yes. So that's why I'm thinking that, yes, he's in this loved up zone, I think. This zone of zenment. This zone of contentment that he's in right now. Yes. And swearing a lot. Oh dear. Oh, here we go from Helium Trophy. Skirting her. No, skirt. You know what I mean. I get you. You want to laugh? Look at his new can of Monster Go about vegan fruits. Oh dear. I'll look at that. Today is the birthday of both Dan Ticktum and Michael Massey. Well done to Dan Ticktum. He's probably sitting there now with his birthday cake going, what the fuck's this piece of crap? You call that a cake? That's not a bloody cake, is it? The fucking... Look at it. Look, and all the bloody ends are coming off it and all. Wow, what a piece of shit that is. Yes, did you see that radio message from Dan Ticktum? Now, he's one that needs to be in the Zen zone. Someone get Dan Ticktum a decent girlfriend because he's certainly very uptight lately. Or in fact, he's been uptight all through his career, I think. But just lately, he's very uptight. Someone send him a girlfriend very quick. Or a prostitute, doesn't really matter, you know. You still have to pay for them, whatever. So just send who you want. But yeah, send Dan Ticktum something. Lewis, mate, you ever thought that all fruits are vegan? Love it. Mike Crack, Gaston Marzipin, Nikita Marzipin. I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Right, well, as we've got no Formula One this week because next week it is Canada, I thought it was time to go in through the Hookster Vaults. Yes, the Hookster Vaults. And here's what I found from the Hookster Vaults. Yes, because I never get rid of anything. Here it is, everyone. Now, I may get banned from YouTube by showing you this, but I'm going to anyway. This is a loaded from January 2001, and on the front cover is Jan Anderson, Casualty's sexy nurse. Now, anyone who remembers Casualty may remember Jan Anderson as well. All you youngsters, you won't remember. But all the old people watching will remember Jan Anderson used to be in Casualty. So yes, this was a loaded from 2001. Now I used to get this not for looking at this. No. This has no interest for me whatsoever. No, I didn't get it I got it because in the loaded at the back they used to do game reviews, and they were pretty decent game reviews as well. But I say all this smutty stuff. I never used to look at this at all. You know, this. Let me get it into camera. This Rachel Brady, if anyone remembers her as well, she was on a program called Planet Pop, Irish girl back in the day. They had no interest to me whatsoever. But no, the reviews of games. But they used to stick them right at the back because obviously, you know. So what you got to remember is this is 2001. So here's the reviews of the games. Look, 2001. We got Medal of Honor, Underground. Anyone remember that? 2001. Game of the month is Shenmue for the Dreamcast. Yes. And we've got Blade for the PlayStation. Muppet Monster Madness. Oh my God, it's all coming back to me now. We've got Sheep. 007 Racing. FIFA 2001. Wow. And these are all PlayStation 1 games because the PlayStation 2 was, you know, only just sort of coming on into the market. But then we've got Wild Racing for the PlayStation 2. Yes, now I do happen to have Wild Racing right here. This is one of the very first games for the PlayStation 2. If you can remember the fireworks simulator which came out for the PlayStation 2. Apart from that, this was one of the very early games. And as you can see, I got this from a boot sale back in the day, and it was 48p reduced to 21 pence. So very, very expensive game, as you can see. 21 pence. Wild Racing. Does anyone remember this? Anyone remember this? Yes, Unleash the Beast Within. Yes, it was one of those games where you get your PlayStation 2 and you're really, really excited because it's like, oh, I've just got the latest cutting edge piece of machinery here, and you put this in, and for like 20 minutes you are really excited because you think this is the best game ever. Then after about 20 minutes you're like, yeah, okay, I think I'm done with this, because after that there's really nothing to show you. Yeah, the graphics were, well, they were first gen PlayStation 2 graphics, so they were basically just looked like PS1 graphics. The handling was pretty atrocious. They were just buggies basically. It was a bit like MotorStorm and stuff like that, you know. They were just, you can see on there, buggies. That's what they looked like. And it was a very basic game. Only had about half a dozen circuits or whatever. But that was one of the very first games on PlayStation 2, and that of course was 2001. Wild Racing. And it is reviewed in this copy of Loaded, which, as I say, it's got nothing in it whatsoever for me. But one thing it has got is Jordan. Not the Grand, well, it is the Grand Prix car, but actually Katie Price, the model. Yes, and let's have a look at Jordan back in her heyday. Because I'm only mentioning this because I think there's some pictures of the Jordan team in here as well. Because the photo shot was in Malaysia. So here she is. There's Katie Price, aka, let me see if I can get all the reflections out of it and stop it over there a bit. There you go. Jordan in Malaysia. And there she is with Eddie Jordan. So there is a F1 link to what I'm saying here. Not just the fact that I wanted to show Jordan in her underwear on screen. But there you go. Jordan in Malaysia. This was 2001. The heyday of Formula One. Yes. You couldn't do this now. You could not have Katie Price standing next to Eddie Jordan at a Grand Prix track in a skimpy clothes. You can just about see it in that picture there. You couldn't do that now. I mean, they got rid of the grid girls. There's no chance of this coming back. And here's another picture. And there she is, as you can see. She's in a bikini, standing next to the Jordan car. There she is. And there she is in her underwear on a photo shoot in Malaysia. I'm having trouble getting my words out looking at the screen. But yeah, there she is. It's just, this was 2001. Loaded did a lot of stuff featuring Formula One. As I say, 2001 was a really great year for F1. I mean, when 2000 came along, it just seemed to F1 seemed to explode, and that sort of progression went into 2001 as well. So F1 was really, really, really popular. And here's the last shot of Jordan. Yes, there she is. And I'll probably get taken off of YouTube for showing you that, but there she is. Now, here's another thing about advertising. I happen to see this as well. You would never see this today, but please bear with me while I try and find it. I just looked at it and thought, this is just a reflection of the world that we now live in. Yes. This Loaded is a very, very thick magazine as well. Look at that. Look how many pages there are. Yeah. And how much was it? I can't remember. £3. That is what you call value for money. All those pages for £3. Brilliant. Hey, look. 2001. Get the latest Nintendo games. It's the Nintendo Game Boy Color. Oh my god. Let me see if I can find this advert. Because I saw this advert and thought, this could never be done. Now, please forgive me because there's a lot of pages. And I've got to find it. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Talk amongst yourselves. I know it's here because I saw it. I saw it here. But yeah, it's more a reflection on advertising. It's more a reflection on wokeness, where we're going right now compared to where we were 20 odd years ago. What's that? 22 years ago now, isn't it? 2001. 22 years ago. Well, another latest game. 2001. Driver 2. Fantastic. I will find this, I guarantee you. I will find this. Please bear with me. As I say every week, I'm completely live. And I'm the one that has to press all the buttons. Here it is. Found it. Right. This is an advertisement for a hi-fi system. Hi-fi separates, in fact, which were very, very popular in 2001. Now, look at this. You would never see this today, would you? Look at this. Look. Seriously well equipped. Where on earth would you see advertising like that in 2023? You got a girl in her bra and combat pants holding I think that's an MP4 with bullets, advertising my camera's making me do everything in reverse. Advertising a hi-fi system. Yes, separate hi-fi system by Teak, T-E-A-C. They were very popular back in the day. Very popular. But yeah, you just would not see this now, would you? It's just unbelievable how woke the world has gone. I mean, that's just great. And pretty much, I want to go out now and buy a Teak hi-fi system just looking at that picture. Yeah, it makes me want to buy all those hi-fi separates down the... Well, I've done it again. The camera shows me in reverse. I just want to buy all those hi-fi separates right now, just purely by looking at that picture. So there you go. Sex does indeed sell, and there's the proof in the pudding. But not now. It doesn't. No, because everything's all woke and shit. And oh my god. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you, and it did waste another 10 minutes of time. So well done indeed. Let's go back to the comments. Le Mans, yes. Grasshopper says, I'm really thinking all the times about the best F1 game ever. I would say F1 Championship Edition on PS3. The game was just so good for its time. And maybe F1 23 will be even good. Dave? Yes, Will. What's the matter? What's the matter, Will? What's the matter? Tell me what your problem is. Yes, I would agree with you. F1 Championship Edition is... quite possibly one of the best. Now, I'm biased towards F1 97 because it was a Formula One game that I loved. Obviously, it looking at it now, it's a little bit old, it's a little bit creaky, but that's my favourite. But in second place, it's definitely got to be a place for F1 Championship Edition. It has to be said. I mean, it's just such a great. Even now, you go back and look at those graphics, and they're still comparable to modern games today. They really are, because it's just. And I find it amazing. Apart from the couple of minor niggles, like the rev penalties when you went off track for 5 seconds, which was very annoying. The AI, which was a little bit derpy and didn't really... And they did have a tendency to crash into the back of you at times, which was a little bit annoying. Apart from that, F1 Championship Edition was the dog's balls. It really was. Really was. It's the go-to game when all the F1 YouTubers have got nothing else to show on their channels. They're like, oh, let's go back to a classic. And that's what they do. Yeah. They haven't done it recently in the past 4 or 5 years, but that's every time they couldn't find anything to show on their channel because maybe the latest F1 game was very, very disappointing, they went back to F1 Championship Edition. So that just shows you the longevity of that game. And don't forget, made back in 2007, I do believe. Maybe 2006. I know it was on the 2006 season, but I think it came out in 2007 because they'd already had to release F106 first, and then that came along later. So I think it was 2007 before that got released. But yeah, just a great game. Now, out of all the Codemasters games, the best one I will always say has been F1 2010. It can't be beaten. In fact, I think that game was damn nigh on perfect. Once again, had a few niggles, no safety car, of course, and it was a little bit easy. It was, it wasn't too difficult to beat the AI, but it just had that quintessential something, that sort of woo wow factor. Especially when you had the bit outside the main menu screen, you were standing in between the two trailers, and you had all the options in front. It was just glorious, absolutely glorious. And then of course you had your trailer which you could go into, and you get all the options like helmet options. It was just a beautiful game. But the reason why it was a beautiful game is because Codemasters had about 2 years to develop it. Because obviously there was no game for 2007 because they'd lost the license. There was, of course, Championship Edition, but that was based on the 2006 season. So there was no game for 2007, no game for 2008. And then it was very late in 2008 when Codemasters acquired the license for Formula One. They had like 6 months to get a game ready for 2009. They just wanted to get something out there for the fans so that at least they could play, an up-to-date F1 game. So they thought, well, let's do it quick, and the fastest route we can get an F1 game to the public is to put it out on the Wii and the PlayStation Portable, because they were both platforms which were very easy to develop games for, especially as it was, they were developing these games from scratch because they had no additional data from the previous year to make these games on. So they're making a game from scratch. But the PSP handheld system, very, very easy to write code for. And the Wii, which was basically just a glorified PlayStation 2 as well, was, it had been out for a long time. So it was very, very easy to write coding for the Wii. So they rushed 2 games out, which was F1 2009 for the Wii and the PSP. And that was the start of it. But while they were doing that, they didn't actually make those games. They were made by Sumo Digital, which was a company which did a lot of portable sort of ports for the PSP and did a few for the Wii as well, I do believe. So what they could do was they could farm all of that out to Sumo Digital, so they had nothing to do with it. All they did was publish it at the end. They had no involvement in the games, nothing at all. No one from Codemasters was involved in making those Sumo. It's like a contract. You send the contract to someone else and they get the job done for you. So this would have been very, very late 2008 going into 2009. So that gave them like a whole 18-month development window where they could just sit down there and start F1 2010 from scratch, which is what they did because they also had no code to work on from previous games. So they worked on 2010 from scratch, built it up to the behemoth that it became. Everyone agrees, I think, that that game was rather special indeed. It's everyone's sort of favourite F1 game to sort of mention in the Codemasters era. But then, of course, you know, the rot set in straight away, because then they only had like 9 months to develop F1 2011, and 2011 was a serious disappointment. And they completely reversed all the good work they'd done on 2010. 2011 was horrible. They'd altered the handling, and for some unknown reason, they'd made the wings so that you actually go faster if your wings are of higher values, which makes zero sense to everyone else. Because I mean, in F1 2010, you could go around most of the circuits just with one wings. That's what most people did, especially in like online stuff. They just go around on one wings because it really wasn't too bad to handle. It really wasn't. But you couldn't do that in F1 2011 because they catered it more for steering wheel users. So people on pads were having a very difficult time until, you know, it was found out that the only way to get more speed out of the car was to increase the values of the wings. Now, of course, in 2011, the cars hadn't radically changed that much in real life, so it's very bizarre that they went down that route. But of course, Codemasters did that again in 2021, where they had different values on the wings, where the front wing was a higher value than the rear wing. And once again, that hadn't changed fundamentally in real life. So very bizarre set of circumstances where they keep changing stuff when it's not necessary, and not for the better either, for the worse. So 2011 was a complete downstep. They pulled it back with 2012. A lot of people liked that game, and it's a very playable game indeed. Then the sort of evolution came in 2013 with, of course, the classic cars, which everyone loved, and we'd all been saying about for years. I mean, there was classic cars in F1 Championship Edition, for God's sake. Yes, but ever since Codemasters took over, there was no classic cars at all. I thought I'd bring them back in 2013, but not just the classic cars. It's all very well having classic cars, but you need a classic circuit to ride them on. And yes, we had 4 circuits as well in 2013 as well, which is great. And they had this beautiful sort of old look feel to the graphics as well. They had this filter on, which made it sort of look all yellowy, like it was back in the old days. Yes, back in the old, like it was when you used to watch F1 on the TV on your colour TV in whatever resolution it was, 525 lines of resolution. Yes, that was all you got back in those days. Yes, and it had this always had this sort of yellowy tint to it, and that's what they did on the tracks, and it looked really good. I have to say, really good. So it was great, and of course they brought Murray Walker back to do some commentary as well. Oh, it was glorious. It was glorious. But ever since then, they completely messed it up. 2014 was an absolute unmitigated disaster. They removed the classic cars for no reason whatsoever. They still didn't give a valid reason why they got rid of them, apart from their usual excuse, which is licenses. But I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. They just couldn't be bothered. They just couldn't be bothered because they probably spent so much time on the handling of the 2014 cars, and of course the new look of them and what have you. They couldn't be asked to put classic cars in anymore. Yes. And in the end, what did we end up with? Well, we ended up with a turgid, lumpy mess of a game, 2014, with cars that sounded like spin dryers. They didn't even sound like the engines, even though the engines were pretty shit in 2014 in real life. They still didn't sound like that. And you could basically just Mario Kart it around every corner because it was horrible. The handling was atrocious. It really was. Really was atrocious. And it was a terrible game. And then, of course, they went next gen with F1 2015, and everyone thought, yes, finally, this is the game we've all been waiting for. And 2015 was an unmitigated disaster. It really was. It was a horrible game. Possibly the worst in the series. Possibly. Next to 2014, I'd put it up there, but I'd say 2015, it was just horrible. No career mode. They just said, oh, time constraints meant that we didn't have time to put a career mode in. I mean, come on. What's the point of having F1? All right, back in the old days, you didn't have a career mode, yeah, but from 2004 onwards, we've had a career mode in F1 games, so it's expected, isn't it? But I understand FIFA did that one year as well when they had no career mode, and everyone complained about that, which is rightly so. Because if all you've got is a championship mode, it's a pretty shallow affair. Even though you could do 2 seasons, which made it a little bit longer, it was still a pretty shallow affair. So yeah, it was very disappointing for 2015. Then, of course, they started the sort of evolution years. 2016 was pretty decent. 2017 was a little bit better. 2018 I thought was a tiny step back. 2019 was a definite improvement, and 2020 was once again an improvement. But then they started to go backwards again. 2021 was a definite sort of, there was a lot of handling issues with 2021. And then 2022, last year's game, or still this year's game until next week when the new one comes out, was just absolutely horrendous. For anyone with a pad, you just couldn't use it on anything but full traction control. And it just spoiled it completely, because you're sitting there going around corners while the traction's digging in so much you just can't get around the corners, and you just got no pace in the car, and it was just horrible. And if you went on medium traction, you could handle it, but every now and again you just spin out for no reason. And if you're doing something like a league race, you just can't afford to have that happen. It's all right when it starts to spin and you know it's going to spin and you can grab it in time and you can I got it. Yeah. But in 2022, there was none of this. You just be going along perfectly normally, going around a corner, and then suddenly you spin out and you go, why did I just do that? Why did it spin? Why did it spin? And that's the thing. Why did it spin? Because it shouldn't have done. But apparently Max Verstappen said when he tested it that you could wheel spin in fifth gear, which you can't even do in real life. So there's a little indication there of why the game was bad. You can't even wheel spin an F1 car in real life in fifth gear, but you could in the game, which is quite bizarre. Now, unfortunately, 2023 is going to be with us next week. There could be problems. Number one, David Greco, the handling designer, has left. He did finish the game before he left. Okay, so everything on this game is still David Greco. But don't forget, of course, he did last year's game as well. So that doesn't inspire me with confidence. But yeah, so he's finished the game and now he's left. So it's not really for this year, but my worry is now for future games, because he was in overall charge of the handling. Obviously, they give it to someone else, and they're probably in charge now. But it's still going to take, I think, a little while for everyone else to come up to what David Greco has built up in the last, 7 or 8 years when he was at Codemasters, being in charge of the handling. It takes a long time to sort of catch up to other people's work. So that kind of worries me. But the whole direction that EA are going with the F1 games, well, I said about it in a video, I think it must be 2 years ago now, how EA taking over was very bad for Codemasters and the games, and I do believe it is. This F1 world, which is this all-connected behemoth online thing, I'll tell you what's going to happen there. That's if that takes off, that's going to be the main mode of play in the future, and I'm pretty sure they'll just get rid of the career modes entirely. They'll get rid of my team, they'll get rid of the driver career, and it'll just be this my F1 world balls in the game, and I'll be very sad to see that happen, but I know deep down that is what's going to happen, because it's the way EA are going. It's going to be like the ultimate team now for F1 is going to be in these games, and very, very sad, because there will be no more driver careers. But the thing is, a lot of people moan about driver careers, but let's face it, most people play about 2 seasons of the driver career and then you get fed up with it. I don't know a single person who's gone through 10 seasons of career, like 200 odd races. I haven't seen. Now, offline, I'm currently doing a my team on F1 2020 because I wanted to see what it was like. And I'm bored rigid. I really am. I'll tell you exactly what happens. After 2 seasons, all the development that you've built up gets reset. So you basically start again from scratch. And then you go for another 2 seasons and the same thing happens. And so you have to start basically from scratch, or, not from scratch, but very low down the pecking order again. So that's after 4 seasons. I'm now at season 5 and there's nothing you can do. My biggest excitement is that last year my car was black. This year I changed it to yellow. That's it. That's all the excitement I can gain from this my team, because I'm on console. Now, people on PC, they can put mods on it and really improve it a lot and tweak with it, and I have lots of fun with it. But on console, it's a complete bore fest. It really is. and you're stuck with that FIA generic car for the whole 10 seasons. You can't move to another team. You got to stay there, and it's just boring and repetitive. And the reason why they keep resetting the R&D is because in 2 seasons you can pretty much get the car updated, and so they've got to find a way to mitigate that, because otherwise there is nothing to do in the R&D for 8 seasons. So they just keep resetting it, which is a sticking plaster way of trying to cure a big problem. I mean, they increased the development on the R&D to like 122 parts, thinking that'll do, that'll keep them all going, but still you can pretty much get it done in 2, maybe 3 seasons. You can get your car fully updated. So they just reset it all, so that it's just ridiculous. So my hopes for 2023 are not very good, unfortunately, and I think it's going to rapidly go the way of F122, and this, after about 2 weeks, disappear with everyone hating it. Now, there's been lots of things about this new handling for people on pads. I hope that's going to be a game changer, because if it is, that'll be really great for everyone, especially people who play online and for people who play career modes as well. If the handling is a lot better than last year's game, then we will be all happy. So we won't really worry about the fact that there's few things to do in the game, as long as because at the end of the day, Formula 1 game, it's the handling is everything. Nothing else matters. It's the handling. That's all you want. And if the handling's not up to scratch, then you get bored with it and you can't be bothered to play it anymore. So yeah, I'm hoping the handling is going to be on message. So that's going to be a good thing. As for everything else, well, they've already announced that my team and the driver career are pretty much going to be copy-paste of last year's. A few tweaks here and there, but nothing really. I mean, when they start talking about they've updated performances of the drivers, you know they're getting desperate to try and find things to say about a mode that they obviously haven't even touched since last year. Okay, they've been concentrating on the F1 World thing, obviously, and they just left the career modes pretty much as they were. So that's not something to look forward to. And of course, you've got the other problem, which is the price of the bloody thing, which is it's like £70 on disc, and the Champions Edition's like 90 quid. That's a hell of a lot of money in 2023, considering everything that's going on in the world right now, and you know everything's so expensive. People haven't got any money. That's a huge wodge of cash. I'd have been more satisfied if Codemasters had just frozen the price from last year and kept it at £60. At least that would have showed some kind of, you know, commitment to saying, look, we know times are hard right now, so we're just going to leave it at the price that it was last year. But to actually just bung another tenner on the price, it's just crazy, absolutely crazy, and I can't see the justification for it. And looking at other people's comments and looking around the internet, there's not a lot of hype for this game. There's not a lot of good feelings, I have to say. But next week we will find out. I have got it on order. It should be here whenever the proper release date is. I haven't got the 3-day special pre-order balls, because I'm sorry, I'm not paying an extra £20 just to get it 3 days earlier. Let all the big YouTubers get it and, you know, show it to the nation and get all their filthy views, millions of whatever. Let them do that. I'm really not bothered with that whatsoever. But I will have it on release day, whenever it is, and I will be live streaming it to everyone who wants to know, and I'll be live streaming it from a perspective of you out there, the ordinary member of the public, not some big YouTuber who's being to say nice things about it. Okay, if I think it's rubbish, I will say so, and I shall also, obviously, you know, at my age now, I'm not the best player, but I can instantly, because of my vast knowledge of all the previous games going back 20 odd years, I can tell you within 5 minutes, if you're on a pad, whether this game is going to be any good or not. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Matthew, welcome to the stream. He says, where's Dommy? I don't know. I did phone in before I came on here and there was no answer. Scott said 11 Wings on 2010 will give you a test with courses I struggle on. Yes, it will. Grasshopper says, funny fact about 2014 is the classic cars was doing the code. Were they? I didn't know that. I did not know that, but I expect they were. Yeah, because they leave a lot of stuff in the coding, don't they? At Codemasters, because a lot of the PC modders end up finding it all, don't they? So I can quite understand that it was still in there. So they left it in there and just left it locked off, I presume, and so you couldn't play it. Well done, well done. Lionel Plessy, well done stream. So he says, I played a bit of 2015 earlier. That's the infamous bug where if you cut Eau Rouge without a front wing, your car goes flying. Ah, yes. Ah, yes. 2015 was great for my channel, I have to say. It wasn't a great game, but it was great for my channel. So many people brought out glitch videos of 2015. I was also one of them. There's a video that I did where one of the other cars is actually mating another one, and you can see the cars on top, and it's going like that on top. And I put some of that, sexy music over it as well. It was great. It was great. Everyone loved the glitch videos on 2015 on YouTube back in the day because it was just such a disastrous game, and it was just absolutely brilliant. Scott says, ooh, a live stream of F120. I can't wait to see Will F1 score at the end of the races. Yes, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. I don't. When is it? Is it the 16th it's out? I can't remember. If it's the 16th, then I'll be here on the 16th, whenever that is, which I presume is next Friday. I'll be here on the 16th. I have got it on disc, ordered on disc, so it may come a day earlier. So if it is, it could be next Thursday. So if it is, then there won't be a live stream from me like there is now next Thursday, because I should be off doing that later on instead. So it just depends when it comes. If it doesn't come till Friday, then I'll do the live stream on Thursday and then have a look at the game on Friday. Yes. Yes, that'll be fun, that, Scott, so watching Will rating me. I remember last year's game, I did that video, and we couldn't get online because it wasn't working. That was like day one release, because everyone's on the game, the servers get full up and they just explode, and you just can't get on for about the first 3 days. And I remember last year's, I did doing that live, and we couldn't get onto the online bit, which is quite disappointing because a lot of people want to see that, but there you go. Not my fault. Right, let's see if we can... Let's get rid of that. As we've asked for the Canadian, let's see if we can get the Canadian. But I did ring him earlier, and he wasn't online. But let's give him a try now. First, I'm going to deactivate myself, and forget not to put that on screen. What's the betting? He doesn't answer. What's the betting? La 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 la. He's probably at his Christian Mingle meeting right now. Ah, Christian Mingle. Love it. Love it. I'll give you a little tip there, yeah. He only goes there to meet girls. Yeah, that's right. You gotta watch those Christian girls. Oh my god. Worse than a lot, those Christian girls, I tell you. Ah, yes. Dee, 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 dee. Dee, dee, dee. Hello? Turn my volume up. Come on, Orlando. Answer the bloody phone. Bleep. Bleep. Look at that profile image. Look between the big Bruce Springsteen. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh dear. No, he's not there. Right, let's go to the general chat then. See if we can find anyone. Oh, I've got to get rid of some people. Please excuse me. As I say, everything's live. And I have to press all the buttons. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, we're getting low on members to chat to. We only got 7. Actually, if I get rid of that one, because they're not going to answer, I'll leave them on. Here we go. Here we go. Is anybody going to answer today? What do we reckon? What do you reckon, chat? Chat? What do you reckon, chat? Matthew says, any new features for driver career? Sorry if you mentioned it already. No, it's fine, Matt. I don't think I have mentioned it, to be honest, but new features for driver career are pretty much non-existent. As I say, it's pretty much a copy-paste job of last year's game. There'll be the usual like refinements, a couple of tweaks, possibly. Let me turn that down a minute so you can hear me mostly. There'll be a few tweaks. I'm hoping there'll be a few tweaks to the R&D, because the R&D last year I thought was horrible. I much preferred the tree from previous years. I didn't understand the logic behind the R&D for last year's game, and it confused me as well. I didn't know what any of it meant. Maybe I'm just getting old and a bit like Joe Biden, I don't know, but it confused me. I didn't even know what half of it meant. So yeah, I'm hoping that they revamp the R&D tree to make it a bit more understandable to old people. Yes, but apart from that, so I understand, nothing's really changed. So it's going to be pretty much the same as last year's game and the year before's, and 2020, which is the first year when they had my team, wasn't it? Can't see any improvements, to be honest. We have to wait a little while because sometimes it takes like 3 or 4 minutes for people to come on, so we have to keep it ringing for a little bit. So yeah, apart from that, Matt, I think it'll be the same as last year's, to be honest. Yep. One thing they have done, which is a backward step, is they've removed the custom livery editor for us on console, so you can't make your own liveries anymore for my team, which is definitely a step backwards. I don't know why they've done that, but they have. So yeah, you can pick from a list of liveries like you could last year, basically, but you cannot make your own livery, and I find that a bit bizarre. Because one of the things I got partial enjoyment out of my team was to actually make a tiny bit of a livery and to actually put the sponsors on the side. But I mean, the sponsors will probably still be able to go on, but it'll be on this livery that's preset, and that's very strange. I don't know why they take that backward step. Why would they remove something that they had last year when it was a pretty simple livery editor anyway, to be honest? I mean, you compare it to Gran Turismo, it's nothing really, is it? You get like 6 basic designs. You can change the colours of the car in all the designs, but that's about it. And you can place the sponsors, but they're all preset places. You can't move them into exact positions. They're just like, sitting there. But apart from that, there's nothing else really that you can do with it. And now you can't do a thing. You've got to select one of the presets. And no doubt there'll be a load more that you can buy for a very, very cheap price of £3.29 as a microtransaction. So there'll be lots of liveries for you to pick from, obviously. But for us on console, there'll probably be just the standard 6 basic liveries, which is what it was last year. And you can just, pick one, and that's it. Pick one, and that's it for career mode. Very strange. Very strange indeed. Okay, we'll have to stop that there. No one's ringing, no one's answering, so... Right, okay. Grasshopper says, the only change I think is that interviews are back, but this time with Natalie Pinkham. As they said, there are new cutscenes with Pinkham because F122 didn't have interviews, only those marketing things. Yeah, I did notice that. They got rid of the interviews. They could be a little bit annoying as well, those interviews, especially like when you've got the multiple choice on the screen of what option you want. It's a bit boring, that is. It's all right when you first start the game, about the first half a season, but after that they start repeating the questions and you're like, oh, for God's sake, just get on with it now, just get on with it. Oh wait, just press no comment, no comment, no comment, no comment, no comment, and it seems to get through it quicker. But yeah, so they're bringing that back, are they, with Natalie Pinkham? Natalie Pinkham, fantastic indeed. I can't wait. And now my chat's disappeared off the tablet. Come on, there it is. Scott says, I will forgive them if they bring back a certain German driver as an icon. Is that Nico Rosberg by any chance, Scott? Is it? Because, I mean, I've heard you're sort of a tiny bit of a fan. Yeah, I mean, you don't bang on about it, but you are a tiny bit of a fan, aren't you, with Nico Rosberg? So, yeah. I doubt they will. They got Pastor Maldonado as an icon. Why? I've no idea, but they have, yes. Pastor bloody Maldonado is an icon. I know they had Nico Hulkenberg, didn't they? And now he's back racing in F1 again, which, as Arava said, was a bit stupid having him as an icon in the first place. They should be drivers that have been out of the sport for quite a few years. They should be icons, not someone who was only in it a few years ago and now he's back again, which I agree with, which is very unusual for me to agree with Arava, but on that occasion I do agree with him, yes. It was rather stupid to have Hulkenberg as an icon and then now he's in Formula 1. So, yeah, ridiculous. 100% correct, says Scott. Well, thank you, Scott. Yes, absolutely. 100% correct. So, I think we've covered everything tonight. We've done, what did I put? What has happened to Fernando Alonso? Done that. The new F1 game is nearly here. Yes, I've done that as well. And we've tried to talk to anyone. Of course, if we were talking to some people, we would have extended the stream for about another 30 minutes while we're having thoughts and opinions. But there's no one answering the bloody phone tonight. So that's it. I'd just like to say thanks so much for watching the stream tonight. You have been awesome as always, from me and Mr. TB the Bear. Yes, wearing his WTF1 badge, the little traitor. The little traitor. Just want to say bye-bye, bye-bye. Now, there's no Formula 1 this week. Everyone going to sad mode. Yes, no Formula 1 this week. It's back next week with Canada. There'll be a very busy week for me next week because we got the Canadian Grand Prix and we've got the release of F1 23 as well. Hopefully I can still do my scheduled videos. I doubt I'll be able to do any WTF1 piss take videos though, because time's going to be a little bit tight, but we will get through it. I'd just like to say thanks for everyone joining me tonight in the stream. To Scott Barnes, to Mr. Grasshopper, thank you sir, welcome to the stream. Matthew 7657, Lionel Plessy was in there as well. Hillian Trophy was in there. Who else did we have? I think that was everyone. Wheel F1. Oh my god, I nearly forgot Wheel F1. Oh, could you imagine that? Could you imagine the comments on Sunday if I'd forgotten Will F1? I just had to give it up. Yeah, shut my YouTube channel down, close me Twitter, close me Twitch. Not that I ever use it. Shut me Instagram. Not that I ever use it. Shut me Instagram. It just would have been a nightmare. So Will F1 was in the chat, everyone. I'm just joking. I think that's everyone else. Yes, it is. So thanks everyone for joining me tonight for another Hookster Talks. Do not enjoy the Grand Prix on Sunday because there isn't one. That means you'll have to find something else to do, won't you? Yes. Don't look at me. I don't know. Just, I don't know. Go and cut the grass or something. No? That's boring, isn't it? Boring. Boring. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks everyone for joining me tonight. And I will catch you in the next video. Thank you and good night. Thanks to Mr. Grasshopper for being a new one tonight. Unless you're someone I already know and you're in disguise using another name. I don't know. But anyway, thanks to you for joining me tonight. And I'll catch you in the next video. Good night.